Kristy narrated 27 books in the Babysitters Club series. I liked her books in general. There are only 5 Kristy books that I gave a score which is 3 or 4 out of 10. None of her books got a 0 out of 10, a 1 out of 10, or a 2 out of 10. So even though this is a list of her worst books, they're still better than the worst books in the series. None of them are disasters. In fact, the worst one is just boring. That's the main problem with it. Well, I don't want to talk about the worst one yet. We need to discuss these books in order, so let me start with number 5, Kristy and the Worst Kid Ever. A foster kid named Lou McNally moves into the neighborhood. She misbehaves a lot. Some of the stuff she does is not so bad, and we've seen kids act worse in other books in the series. But this book insists everything Lou does is terrible. Partway through, the babysitters learn Lou has been acting out because her father died, her mother ran away, and she's been forcibly removed from her brother. I felt really bad for her. But the babysitters don't. They double down on calling her a problem child. Why are the babysitters so mean in this book? Especially Kristy. She knows what it's like to have a parent walk out on the family. She should have sympathized with Lou instead of being mean to her. This book has a not-so-good subplot where the club members spend 4 chapters waiting to get mail. 4 chapters of waiting. That story went on for too long. Number 4, Kristy and the Missing Fortune. This is one of several mysteries where the girls tackle an unsolved case from over 100 years ago. This is an interesting premise, but it never seems to work in the mystery series. Probably because the girls are too far removed from the mystery for it to affect them. And they can't really investigate crime scenes or interview suspects. So what do we get instead? We get Kristy going to the library. 4 different times. It's pretty repetitive, and she could have done all the research in one trip and saved us all the hassle. There's another unnecessary set of 3 to 4 chapters in this book. We've got a subplot where they think the Arboretum is being sabotaged, but it's not. The entire thing was just a waste of time. The mystery is that Kristy tries to find some gold which disappeared in 1863. If you like that premise, then you should buy my video game, The Lost Oregon City Gold. I think it's way better than this book, although obviously I'm biased. Unlike my game, this scavenger hunt mystery has one puzzle. It says in order to find the gold, you must look in Christina's special place at 10 p.m. on Valentine's Day. Well, gee, those instructions are so specific, there's practically no mystery. The girls follow the instructions and find some lost items, but they don't find any gold. Number 3, Kristy and the Copycat. Kristy joins the school softball team. The older team members pressure Kristy into spray painting a building. Then they try to get her to smoke. The building catches on fire that night. It burns down. The team members order Kristy not to tell anyone that they were smoking there. Kristy feels scared and confused. And that's the problem with this book. Does this sound like a Kristy book? No, it doesn't fit her personality. Kristy's not the kind of person who's easily bullied or who gives in to peer pressure. The Kristy I know would tell someone right away that the softball team members are breaking multiple laws. This story would have been much better if Kristy acted like herself. When Karen imitates Marianne, Kristy realizes copying other people is a bad idea. She resolves to tell the truth to the school. But we get a cop-out ending, where it's revealed some unknown kids burned down the building. That way Kristy doesn't have to confess anything, so she doesn't get in trouble. Number 2, Kristy's worst idea. To celebrate 100 books, they decided to do a story where all the club members fight, and the Babysitters Club is cancelled. It's dramatic, but also a terrible way to celebrate the series. The book tries hard, but there's no getting around the fact that it is a mean-spirited premise which requires the girls to do things they would normally never do. The Babysitters Club starts to have major problems. Jesse's got a scheduling conflict on Fridays. Abby tries to take control of the club meetings. Claudia and Marianne get into a fight after a bad babysitting job, and Stacy doesn't do anything of particular interest. Kristy tries to plan a fall festival, but everyone thinks it's a dumb idea, and she's forced to cancel after a few problems. Kristy feels terrible when Jackie Radowski breaks his ankle during a sitting job. That's when she officially disbands the club. Kristy and the other girls adjust pretty well to life without the club. They adjust so well, it makes you wonder why they even brought it back at the end of the book. Many of their former clients are upset that the club doesn't exist anymore. Well, of course, these parents hate watching their own kids. They need the Babysitters Club. The ending is pretty rushed. Kristy realizes it's not her fault Jackie was hurt, so she decides to restart the Babysitters Club. Everyone goes along with this plan, even though they still have unresolved problems. This ending should have been like 3 chapters long, not 2 chapters long. Wait, it was 1 chapter long. Oh man, that was a rushed ending, wasn't it? Number 1, Kristy Thomas, Dog Trainer. This is one of those boring books where the story is only 5 to 7 chapters long, but instead of adding more story, the book stretches things out as long as possible. Watson decides to train a guide dog for the blind, and the family learns the rules for guide dogs. Despite the title, there is no dog training. Scout learns everything perfectly on the first try. This includes potty training, which is super unrealistic. Also, the book skips over the majority of the dog training classes. We see the first class and the last one, but none of the ones in between. A dog training book without any dog training is pretty dull. The subplot is not enjoyable. Deb Cooper is a blind 12-year-old who's angry at the world. It's realistic, but still unpleasant to see her complain and insult everyone. She screams that she doesn't need a babysitter, and she reacts badly when Kristy surprises her with a group of kids. That was a bad idea on Kristy's part. Why did she expect Deb to be happy that a bunch of strangers are here to see her? Deb is almost hit by a car when she tries leaving the house by herself. Her family decides to get her a guide dog, and she becomes slightly happier. I didn't like the book. It's got a lacking main story with a serious subplot, which is unpleasant. It would be improved with a third subplot, by beefing up the dog storyline, by having actual dog training, and by giving more resolution to Deb. Those are my choices for the 5 worst Kristy books in the Babysitters Club series. Thank you for watching. I also did a video of the 10 best Kristy books in the Babysitters Club series. She's got twice as many good books as bad books. Kristy's a good narrator overall.